Coming to this now, from kidnappings to the construction mafia to illegal mining, it seems organized crime is rife in the country at the moment. And the Global Organised Crime Index places South Africa at number 19 of 193 countries. The report is updated every 2 years, and it shows crime is driven by geopolitical, economic and even technological factors, and that organized crime, such as corruption, is one of the biggest threats to society. So let's discuss this now with Christo Snyman, Forensic Services Director at Mazars South Africa. Christo, thank you so much for your time. I mean, this is not the news that we were hoping for this morning, but it is the reality. South Africa being placed 19 out of 193 countries due to organized crime in the country. What does this say about the level of crime in South Africa?
Well, if we... good morning to viewers and to Mela, thank you very much for having me on the show. So you've touched on corruption and you've touched on the Global Organised Crime Index. And just to give about a perspective about this Global Organised Crime Index is that what it does, it's very well documented, it's very well researched, and it is supported by Interpol. And what it does is it looks at global organized crime, globally, including South Africa, and it looks at human trafficking, for example. It looks at arms trafficking, drugs, our fauna and flora, our plants and our animals. It looks also at corruption. The only sort of positive aspect that we have on the corruption is the Zondo Commission. So it paints a very dire situation for us. And you know, the scary part about this report is we are ranking up very high in terms of countries like Mexico, Colombia, and Africa, the DRC, and Nigeria. So it doesn't paint a very good picture for South Africa in terms of organized crime and corruption.
And when it comes to the Zondo Commission, as you mentioned there, Christo, I mean, the Commission, of course, did a good job in highlighting the role players, but does it also, sort of inspire confidence that there will be prosecutions? Because that's one of the criticisms South Africa receives, even internationally, to say the conviction rates, it seems to be very, very low at this point.
Well, look, a lot of work went into the Zondo Commission, and, all thumbs up for Raymond Judge Zondo and for our president to have started this commission. The final report was tabled recently, and a lot of good work went into that. A lot of high-ranking, high-profile criminals were exposed in terms of this report, and we've seen pockets of these role players being arrested. Obviously now what South Africa want to see and what the business want to see and the world want to see is that these people are prosecuted and they are sentenced. And we all know it is a long and tedious process because we want to take a criminal case and prove it beyond reasonable doubt in court. And there's a lot of work that needs to go into prosecuting these and get them sentenced and put them behind bars.
Absolutely. So South Africa ranking there 19 out of 193, Christo. What other countries have been identified with high levels of organized crime? Well,
I just came back from a visit to the United States. I attended a conference. I sit on the board of the International Association of Financial Crime Investigators, and just out of interest, I attended to a presentation of a federal agent in Mexico, and it was a very short presentation, but it struck me by the heart because what he said was that the majority of the country has been run by cartels. Crime is not reported anymore. Murders is not reported anymore. It's not reported anymore, and government do not confront these issues anymore. They are worried about this. I mean, even the people who would go out to fish when they bring the fish ashore, they are being charged security fees. So. And when I came back to South Africa and I did a bit of research for some other training and I came across the Global Corruption Index, and I said, well, we're number 19. We're not far off a country like, Mexico, and talk about the DRC in Africa. So, sure, we've got a lot of work to do in order to get our house in order.
Right. And just before I let you go, Christo, I suppose, what does that work look like? What needs to be done to ensure that we continue to fight crime and somehow get off this list? Yes, we're at number 19. We've got a couple of more places to go till we're off, you know, the list. But what work do you think lies ahead for us to see ourselves on the better side of the coin?
Well, there's a lot of work to be done, but it's a couple of key issues that we need to address. First of all, we need to get these criminals, organized crime syndicates, the state capture role players, they need to be sentenced, first of all. Then a very important aspect is that we need to look at our whistleblowers. I mean, that was one of the key things, and which made the Zondo Commission a success, is our whistleblowers. So we need to protect our whistleblowers, and we need to create an environment in our business, in government, where people have the freedom to speak up and they do not have to worry to be persecuted. And if there's a message that I can send out to each and every CEO in this country, head of business, head of government, is to make sure that you comply with this and create this environment into your business.
All right, well, I couldn't agree there more with you, Christo, but thank you so much for speaking to me. Christo Snyman, Forensic Services Director at Mazars South Africa. Thank you so much for your time.